The largest solar radiation storm in over 2 decades is underway, and creating some sights like this in Iceland remarkable.
Well, you don't have to worry about clouds getting in your way when the colors are so expansive. A few clouds are small compared to the aurora.
Gosh, that is so amazing, right? We're likely going to see some pretty good northern lights here in our northern states tonight.
You're going to see a hella show.
Yeah, you are.
In hella Iceland, aren't you?
You better believe it. It's going to be amazing. But the thing is, you don't want any clouds, right? So what's our cloud cover forecast? There'll be plenty of locations where I think you'll be in good shape, including the Pacific Northwest. So, like in Seattle, you're good to go. I'm a little bit worried about you in a place like Bismarck, but maybe you squeak out some clear skies like a Fargo to International Falls, then the Twin Cities.
And is this one of those nights that even if you're pretty far to the south, you peek outside, look to that northern horizon?
Yeah.
Because if it's this impressive, remember, over the last couple of years, these auroras have gone way down
they've
south.
overperformed, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, keep an eye to the sky in a place like Denver, Kansas City. You never know, right? Maybe even like Atlanta, you got 0% cloud cover tonight. Maybe if you look north, away from any light pollution from the city, maybe you could find some.
So you get some Canadian aurora lights, and you get some fresh Canadian air to see them in.
Well, the second we'd probably rather pass on. I have a feeling in many places.
Yeah.
Getting really, really chilly. All right, look, we know the lake effect snow. It has been there for sure. We've had cold air. We've had some moisture off the lakes. And look at this. If you're driving on the interstates, that's what you're dealing with, especially if you're behind the big rigs. Major issues around Grand Rapids today, and in a white knuckle drive for us here on US 131. In fact, 196 was also shut down for a long period of time today because of a 100-car pileup there. As of this evening, though, they have finally cleared I-196, so you're good to go there. But the snow is still coming down for us, and there's still more snow around the Great Lakes, especially downwind of the lakes. And so they're all producing snow for us right now. By the way, off of Lake Erie and Lake Ontario, probably we're another couple of feet of snow on the way for you. Now, these clippers, they keep moving through the Great Lakes, and then they leave, and they leave us a northwest wind in behind. So the clippers generally real quick-moving, fast, low-pressure systems that originate in the plains of Canada. Now, depends on the origin of the low. You can get like an Alberta clipper. We know where that's kind of the infamous one. But also like the Saskatchewan screamer or the Manitoba model one. It's got more time to get together. Sometimes it gets more intense. So generally speaking, the Alberta clippers are the ones that produce a little bit more snow, but none of them tend to produce huge amounts of snow. They bring a narrow swath of snow, then some very gusty winds. And this year, after almost every single clipper, we've had a persistent northwest wind, this one in particular this week. And then you see the next clipper that swings on through, and then another weak one that comes in behind that, keeps us persistently in snow. So places like Detroit, we just keep getting nickeled and dimed, but it just keeps adding up for us, you know, day after day after day. So how much is still to come? There's the whole swath that's painted on. Pretty good area there from like Madison over toward maybe like a Lansing, Michigan of 3 to 5, 1 to 3 for you in Detroit. Snow off the lakes, of course. Heavy to Mouse there off of Lake Michigan, the big snows in the Tug Hill Plateau in western New York. For Chicago, you know, 1 to 2 inches in the forecast for us. More, though, if you head toward like a Waukegan or Rockford or back toward Madison. What's the timing for us? I think tomorrow night it begins, and the snow will be there for you in the morning, but most of it ending by mid-morning on Wednesday. So the next one comes in on Wednesday evening. So we're in and out of it in places like Chicago as well. I'm looking for a lot in Chicago, Dr. Nab. Not really.
Boy, this La Nina winter living up to the billing in the Great Lakes. Here's Holland, Michigan, on the shores of Lake Michigan, battered by strong winds and lake effect snow today, including the iconic Red Lighthouse. And as these clipper systems go by, then they will be followed by a really strong Arctic high that will bring even colder air farther to the south. Now, during the rest of this week, you know, through Thursday, yes, the numbers of us with lows below 32 goes down, but that's only a temporary respite for a lot of us because the overall La Nina influence pattern, ridge on the west coast, trough dominating eastern and central North America. Your highs only 19 in Chicago, 26 in Cincinnati, but 47 and 44 in Atlanta and Memphis. That's balmy compared to what's coming. And also, yes, you're going to have 10 to 20 degrees below average tomorrow behind this latest clipper system. But look what's happening as these next two clippers go by, Wednesday and Thursday. Here comes this beast of an Arctic high and that northerly flow, and then you're sitting right under the Arctic high on Saturday morning. So when you look at what's going to trend with the wind chills. Look at Indianapolis, 19 tomorrow on Wednesday morning, 11 on Thursday morning. Okay, this is not as bad as it was. 4 degrees Friday morning, and then we're back to below zero by a large margin. This is serious cold up north this weekend.
It's 10 feet. One shot makes you a soup for 24 hours.
Waiting for the break of day. Getting up to splash my face. Wanting just to stay away. Should I try to do so?
Bipolar 1 can overwhelm your mind. Sometimes depressive lows and unpredictable highs can make it hard to get out of your head. Finding relief may help you break through. Ask about Vraylar. Some medicines only treat the lows or highs. Vraylar treats depressive, acute manic, and mixed episodes of bipolar 1 in adults. Proven full-spectrum relief for all bipolar 1 symptoms.
Not for elderly with dementia-related psychosis due to increased risk of death or stroke. Report changes in behavior or suicidal thoughts to your doctor. Antidepressants may increase these in those under 25. Report fever, stiff muscles, or confusion, which may be life-threatening, or uncontrolled muscle movements, which may not go away. High blood sugar may lead to coma or death. Weight gain and high cholesterol may occur. Difficulty moving, uncontrolled movements, tremors, feeling like you need to move, sleepiness, nausea, vomiting, and indigestion are common. Side effects may not appear for weeks.
Vraylar, breaking through to relief. Ask about Vraylar.
I got in!
Oh my God.
She got it!
Wow, this is actually happening. Tuition, housing. All right, Quicken. Will I have to change my retirement plans?
Stop guessing and start knowing with Quicken.
To improve our efficiency, Lumber Liquidators is moving its national distribution center. Instead of packing it, trucking it, unpacking it, we need to sell off over 1,000 truckloads of first-quality flooring at a huge discount. Available at Lumber Liquidator stores nationwide. If you need new flooring, now is the time to save, up to 80% off. Hurry in. When it's sold out, it's gone for good. See your local Lumber Liquidator store or lumberliquidators.com. Tell them Tom said they'd give you a deal.
Folks, I've seen a thing or two, but these prescription prices? Pricey. Higher than a rooster on stilts. Ain't that right, Dusty Feet?
Reckon it's time we rope them in.
Good RX makes saving time and money easier than splitting a biscuit. Paper's looking mighty big for its britches there, partner.
Yeehaw! Save time and money on prescriptions. Check Good RX.
Soon we'll be telling the whole stadium how Liberty Mutual customizes car insurance to save people hundreds. Whoa. I'll go get us tickets.
Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
New Swiffer Mop Deluxe is made for small spaces. The upgraded strip has 75% more scrubbing power. And with the new locking head, getting into tight spaces is simple.
Can I borrow it?
The all-new Swiffer Mop Deluxe, the mother of all cleans.
I'll give you 1/5 of my cookies for 1/3 of your pizza. Don't lowball me, Harold. 2 tenths. 3 tenths. Deal.
Willingly doing fractions. That's the Lunchables effect.
Got a winter storm looming this week, the potential to deliver a wintry mess from the southern plains to the mid-Atlantic. And not just that, there's also some significant ice in the forecast as well.
You know, and kind of like we saw last week, we urge you not to ignore this system as it takes shape as the week goes on, because it could be an even higher impact event for even more major cities, many of whom are still waiting for their first snow or ice storm of the year.
That is right, and we've got you tonight here on Weather Unfiltered for the details on this. And honestly, the good news is there seems to be some model agreement this week that there wasn't last week, and maybe that's giving us more confidence this is going to play out.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a lot more model signal for a widespread winter event. Now, as we will show you, there are significant differences on who gets snow, who gets ice, and who gets neither, but it's going to be a big event, and we all need to be paying attention every day as we refine the forecast.
All right, you're here for that forecast. We're going to bring it to you here in just a sec. Let's start though with the dangerous day we had around the Great Lakes. 100-car pileup in portions of Michigan, and then yesterday this is what we had in Georgia, but this was a big problem today.
Yeah, over 100 vehicles on I-196 in Ottawa County, Michigan today. Obviously, snowy and windy conditions on the roads, but terrible visibility. About a dozen people were hurt. Thankfully, no one was killed. The highway was shut down in both directions for hours, while crews bussed stranded drivers out and towed away the wrecked vehicles. I always wonder, Mike, what was everybody thinking when they started their day? They probably were not thinking that it would be this bad. I've driven through winter weather before, but sometimes it really, really gets to be a high-end event.
It really does. I don't think anybody, leaves their house thinking, oh,
No.
the weather's going to be so bad, I'm going to be a big, 100-car pileup today. No one ever thinks that.
No, but we have
happen.
we have to realize how significant the dangers are. Add a little more distance, slow down a little bit more, try to avoid those really low visibility situations as best we can.
For sure. You can see even during the cleanup how poor visibility is at that moment. The good news is this, is that I-196 has reopened. They've cleared the vehicles there. It doesn't mean that the weather's gotten all that much better, but at least that area there just west of Jamestown, Michigan has been reopened and you can travel once again. But I'd warn you that the weather is still quite poor here. We've got a lot of snow coming down between Muskegon and South Haven. At times the visibility will be poor. We've had throughout the afternoon and the evening visibilities that have been down less than a mile at times. Look at the winds. That's a major factor in all this, right? Gusting, 18 gusting to 26 in Muskegon, 17 gusting to 23 in South Haven. Coming down for us in Grand Rapids and in Kalamazoo. There are visibilities 3/4 of a mile for you in Muskegon, 1 3/4 mile in South Haven. It's gotten, a little bit better for us in Grand Rapids. We're at least at 4 miles and a mile in Kalamazoo. And the other thing is, if you got, very breezy conditions, very windy conditions, you might actually have some of the snow being picked up off the ground and blown around and mixed in. So the visibility, again, can be quite poor, even if maybe it's not even snowing all that heavily. Now, the winds have been coming down the long stretch of the lakes here, Lake Erie and Lake Ontario, and it's producing some very significant lake effect snow tonight in the Tug Hill Plateau in Michigan, and then this, in New York, and then this through the south towns of Buffalo. Some very significant snow from Dunkirk to Hamburg. We call these the south towns because they are south of Buffalo. Buffalo, you're just out of the heaviest of band right now, but snowfall rates here could be 2 to 3 inches per hour. That's how intense it is. And you've got a northwest wind off of Lake Michigan, Superior, Huron, southwest wind that's really producing the snow for us here in the eastern lakes tonight. This is a persistent pattern through the night tonight. You're going to wake up to some snow, may gradually back off through the day tomorrow, especially the western lakes. Then the next clipper comes through and brings some synoptic snow. The next one comes in behind that, brings some synoptic snow. And, of course, we'll stay then in after those events in a northwest flow, which keeps us in a lake effect setup. Now, the one thing we're going to hope for here is maybe especially like Erie starts to really freeze up because conditions are really, really cold, and maybe you start to shut down the amount of snow that you get, but it's going to have to freeze up in a hurry. Between now and then, though, another 8 to 12 inches, another 2 to 3 feet. Good snow still coming off of Michigan and Superior, and then you see the swath of snow that comes from the clippers that brings you in the narrowest of bands 3 to 5 inches. But we take you into one of those snow bands in the south towns of Buffalo. Meteorologist Chris Bruin is in Hamburg, New York, and has the latest on conditions there.
Here in Hamburg, we're in that band of lake effect snow that we've been forecasting here for the last few days. We knew it was going to set up, and it has done so perfectly over the south towns where it's likely to stay. Now, it could shift to the north or south a little bit, and that could cut down your overall totals depending upon where you are. Or if it doesn't move, boy, could this thing unload 1, 2, maybe even almost 3 feet of snow as we go through the next 36 hours. I want to show you visibility this evening. Not a lot of people out. We do have a travel advisory, and it was also Martin Luther King Day, so I think a lot of people had the day off. Obviously, school was canceled, and I would anticipate there to be school closures tomorrow as well, so make sure you check in before heading off to the bus stop or taking the kids in. It's going to be difficult. Now, not the entire Buffalo metro area doesn't look like this. Some areas don't even have much snow at all, and road conditions are just fine. But be mindful, especially especially tonight. Getting into one of these bands, I mean, it can really make a difficult drive, even a short distance, really dangerous because wind chills are down near 0 and even colder. Right along the lakefront, we're getting gusts up over 40 to 50 miles per hour. It can cause you to swerve, run off the road, especially if you can't see the lanes. I mean, look at the lanes. This is a 4-lane highway, and it's hard to even make out where the lanes are and then where the curbs are and the sidewalk begins. So a lot of snow. I want to pan over this direction just to show you the vantage point. You got the plow piles here on the side, and all this snow on the sidewalk, I've been stepping through it, but this is all new powder. So we've already seen quite a few inches, anywhere from, I would say, 3 to 5 inches, and we're only going to be adding to this by the hour. 2, 3, even 4 inch per hour snowfall rates. And there's a pretty hefty intersection right there with a couple shopping plazas, gas stations, several restaurants, and you really can't even see past that stoplight. So these cars come through, you can see them for about a block, and then they disappear into the white. So this is what we mean by whiteout. It is very difficult and very dangerous. Interstate travel on I-90 is slow going. It would not surprise me if there were to be road closures overnight tonight just because of how difficult and even at times impossible some of the travel conditions could be. We're going to continue with the snow through Tuesday, and eventually this band will shift back towards the north, giving Buffalo some more snow at times, but it might be more moving at that point and limit the overall totals to just a few inches. And then snow showers remain in the forecast Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. At that point, it's really going to be all about the cold. Air temperatures will be down into the single digits, and wind chills that could get down to -20 or colder, especially as we get towards the weekend. And all eyes on our winter storm this weekend, especially across the south. That'll be our next attention after the lake effect snows wind down.
Well, you are so right, Chris, about how cold it is going to get in the wake of these clippers moving across the Great Lakes this week. Look at Saturday when a big Arctic high moves down, and when you add in Sunday, more of us in the southeast will join the ranks of those with below average temperatures, and look at how strong that signal is. A lot of us are going to be way below average, and that Arctic high is going to meet up with Gulf moisture as a southwestern U.S. system moves along the southern edge of that Arctic high. The Euro takes that system, and north of the track of that low produces a very long, potent snowstorm. This is a lot of accumulation, but the models don't agree this many days out on where it will be. The GFS doesn't have as much at the beginning, and it also has the snowfall footprint farther to the south. And it's so important to realize that in both of these cases, ice accumulation that could take down trees and take out power could occur way to the south of the snowfall footprint. So this could be a problem getting fairly close to the Gulf Coast. Here is the system that's off the west coast of the U.S. that is going to move across the southern side of that Arctic air mass that is only going to be reinforced by the continued troughing over eastern North America. So here's the Clipper system on Wednesday, but there's the southwestern system that's moving slowly eastward. And then it phases up with another short wave, and by Saturday, we get a surface low starting to take shape along the southern end of that Arctic high, and the low will strengthen as it moves across the southeast and then moves offshore. So a massive, powerful Arctic high pressure air mass moving to the south. And here comes the moisture with that southwestern system. But how deep will the cold air be when you get the moisture in your location? So how many of you get ice? How many of you get snow? And when does it start? Those are two of the major issues to deal with. Here's the Wednesday Clipper, and here comes the Arctic high behind it. And the Euro starts the precipitation on Friday, but doesn't really get the wintry stuff going until Friday night over Kansas, Oklahoma, and northern Texas. And then it reaches the southeast by Saturday morning. And then Saturday night and Sunday are the worst times for the southeast as a cold air wedge builds in to keep that cold air locked in place. But the GFS is a little different in terms of how the event begins, because look at how on Friday morning the overall pattern is the same as the Euro, but look at what happens in the GFS. By Friday evening, we've got snow south of Tennessee. We've got ice all the way into northern Alabama and Georgia. So, Mike, a big question is, When does this event start? Is it going to start in the southeast on Friday evening, or is it going to wait till Saturday? But meanwhile, we know it's going to start in the southern plains.
For sure. So again, we're going to keep watching the timing on this, and it's a 4 days, it's 4 days away, we believe. So things could get a little bit narrower as we get closer to the event. But January can be a time we pick up a lot of snow in the south. For instance, you go back to January of 2024. There on the left-hand side of your screen, it was Memphis getting snow, shutting down Beale Street. Looked amazing, though, right? Dallas, it was January of 23. It is a month that can produce the snow. Climatologically, it tends to be our coldest month of the year, and all you need then is a little bit of moisture to get in there with that cold air, and you've got yourself some snow. All right, so we're watching it very closely, and when you watch these models, run by run, of course, keep comparing them, analyze them, trying to give you our best forecast, okay? European model forecast that forecasts the event Thursday through Saturday, but it really is a Friday, Saturday event. I-40, Oklahoma City to Little Rock, hammered with snow. That's a big forecast for snow. And then you get down to like a Dallas, it doesn't have any snow in the forecast, but this would be a corridor where likely ice would be in your forecast. Again, that's the European model. If you look at the GFS model, actually it doesn't really differ all that much. It still shows the heavy snow right in this area, like in Oklahoma City toward Little Rock, maybe over towards, say, like a Tupelo, Mississippi. Memphis, you'd be right on the edge of it. Maybe it brings a little bit of light snow down towards, say, Dallas, but generally speaking, this would be the corridor where you'd have more ice. So again, there's not huge disagreements necessarily in what they're saying, but what we know is this, that it's going to be widespread cold in place. I don't think that changes at all. I think the cold air is locked in. We've been forecasting that for a while now, and it's going to stay there. Moisture's going to move in from the Gulf, all right? The storm's going to develop, but what we don't necessarily is the strength of the Arctic high pressure and how many locations will get the really cold. Could it go all the way to the Gulf of, down to the Gulf and maybe produce some ice or snow down to a Houston or a New Orleans or Mobile? We don't know that exactly yet. Right now, it seems like it's going to be just a bit north of that. So how far more north will the moisture go? Where will that then push the rain-snow line or the ice-snow line? And the exact position and timing still to be determined. We're getting a general idea of that now, but again, we'll really begin to narrow down the timing hour by hour in the days ahead. There's that high pressure bringing down all that cold air. There's the moisture coming north out of the Gulf. Where does that set up the rain-snow line, the snow-ice line, the mix line? Again, the details in that are a little bit hard to pin down at the moment, but generally speaking, this is what we can anticipate and what you should be preparing for. Large area of icy weather would be a concern, especially where you've got, some high population, or I-35 could be an issue, potentially like a Waco, but a Tyler to Shreveport is going to be a major issue. A lot of tree density here, and then you see where that snow is in the forecast. Oklahoma City to Little Rock, Memphis, maybe in Nashville as well. And then the other event, Dr. Ned, that plays out is could there be a deepening low toward the mid-Atlantic where then you start to really bomb some snow in the Carolinas or Virginia too.
Of course, in between all of I-20 all the way to Atlanta and beyond could be where we get an ice storm. Again, this is just the snowfall footprint from the Euro for the southeast. Doesn't include much of Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia, but in that European case, you would have ice going way down into the southern parts of these states, and it would go even farther south if the GFS is right with its farther south snowfall footprint. So I would be concerned about ice accumulation way down to at least the northern two-thirds of these Gulf states as a possibility that you need to look out for. Here's the two models. We'll kind of go back and forth here to show you how the Euro is later in with the onset of the wintry precip. Does not include Friday if the main run of the Euro is right, but I would still get ready by the time you go to bed Thursday in terms of having all your shopping done, what you need to do to get through a power outage, because if something like the GFS is right, Friday evening we could start with the ice accumulation and maybe some snow in northern Mississippi. At least there you'd want to be prepared for Friday. Here's Euro with the wintry stuff moving in on Saturday during the day and spreading eastward. But look at the GFS. By Saturday, 3 o'clock, it's already well into northern Alabama and northern Georgia and into southern South Carolina. But look at all this pink is ice. So look how far south the ice accumulation could go relative to the snowfall. But if the Euro's right, again, the snow is mainly north of Alabama and Georgia. But look at how much ice accumulation we could get in Georgia and South Carolina. The GFS has the low moving out sooner. The Euro has it hanging around a little longer just because of the later start. It's a later finish. But regardless, it is going to be a Saturday and Sunday event that could really be significant because of the strength of this Arctic high.